What's going on, YouTube? So I'm pretty excited about this video. Gen 5 introduced some of my favorite Pokemon, and one of those being Hydreigon, the pseudo-legendary of Black and White. Looking at its stats, they're tremendous. We have plenty of bulk and power. Not to mention, our starting moveset is amazing. We start with Dragon Rage, an attack that does 40 HP of damage automatically in the early game. We're going to be one-shotting everything pretty much up until Cerulean City. And with Hydreigon's amazing stats and pretty good starting move pool, you would think that it probably mows down through Kanto. Well, I'm just gonna let you know right now, keep watching, let's not assume anything. We can, however, assume that Brock is a pushover. It's just one Dragon Rage to take out both Geodude and Onix. We learn Bite after knocking out the Geodude, so we have another stab move going forward to pair with Outrage. And speaking of Outrage, it's great for training on Route 3 after Pewter City, because it works like Thrash, and it only uses 1 PP point every time you use it. So getting through the trainers is pretty easy. And considering Hydreigon is in the slow level up group, we're going to need all the early experience we can get because it's really going to help out later down the line when we require more experience to level up. Let's go ahead and pick this up in Mount Moon, where we take the Superior Fossil and the Dome Fossil. And after we get through this Zubat encounter here, we can go ahead and get our Mount Moon timestamp. And Hydreigon is making great time. We're at 21 minutes in-game time. And I'm going to face Misty next because, well, we're a dark type, and being part dragon will resist her water moves. Just like with Brock, Dragon Rage is going to play a huge role in this battle. It nearly one-shot Staryu. I go for Bite to finish it off. Starmie, while it does get off a few Swifts, it's just one Bite and then a Dragon Rage to finish it off. And we have 2 badges that quickly. And while Dragon Rage isn't one-shotting Pokemon anymore, it's still going to come in handy against Rival 2. It nearly one-shots Pidgeotto, and we can use Bite to finish it off. Against Abra, we could do Bite or Dragon Rage. I choose Bite because it's super effective. 2 down. Rattata, Dragon Rage is a one-shot against it, and it nearly one-shots Charmander, which uses Ember and burns me actually. We finish it off the next turn. And I'm going to save my game here after beating the rival, because I'm going to take a bit of a gamble. And that gamble is trusting in Hydreigon's power to one-shot everything. Burn normally cuts your attack stat in half, but Hydreigon's moves are all special moves, and Dragon Rage, which deals, 40 HP no matter what. So really our attack isn't cut in half, because our special stat is going to be used to really go through Nugget Bridge. The only thing I worry about is if we don't one-shot something, we take burn damage, and then maybe something retaliates with a fighting move. That would be my biggest worry. Like the Nidoran we just knocked out here. It does have double kick. We would also take burn damage between every turn that we don't knock out a Pokemon, and thankfully burn does not hurt you in the overworld. I'm just going to give spoilers now because I don't want to bore you with Nugget Bridge footage. We do make it through, we make it to Bills, we had plenty of HP and PP to spare. Let's just go ahead and pick this up in the SSN. We take on the optional trainer to get TM08 Body Slam, which Hydreigon can learn. We're going to pick up the Gentleman Candy on our way out. And we're going to battle Rival 3, which will probably be one of the last battles that Dragon Rage has some use. It can't quite one-shot Pidgeotto, it's left in yellow health. We do finish it off with a Bite after it goes for Whirlwind. Against Raticate, I switch to Body Slam. It doesn't one-shot it, and Hyper Fang gets a crit. We finish it with Bite. Kadabra will be a one-shot with Bite, and it is. And against Charmeleon, I go for Dragon Rage. It's left in yellow, it uses its own Dragon Rage, bringing me to 4 HP, but we knock it out with Body Slam. That's Rival 3 done, and Dragon Rage has pretty much run its course, although it's going to be a while before we can replace it. Let's go ahead and get cut, and then say bye-bye to the SSN, and hello to Lieutenant Surge. And I can sum up this battle in 2 words. Use Outrage. I get a 4-turn Outrage, and it's able to knock out Voltorb and Pikachu in one hit and Raichu over 2. And next up we have Rock Tunnel, which I thought the trainers on the way to Rock Tunnel would be more of a problem. Really the last with the Oddish and Bellsprout that like to paralyze and stick you in wrap. But we one-shot all her Pokemon. I debated training up against some of the optional trainers here, but decided to pass. Let's pick it up at our post-Rock Tunnel timestamp. And we're under an hour in-game time, 57 minutes, just amazing. But remember in the Crocodile video when I said that I made a mistake in this run? Yeah, those mistakes come in the mid-game. And they're not bad, but not my best work. Once I get to Celadon, I'm going to go straight to the department store, to the top floor. I want to give the little girl a soda pop for Rock Slide, which we can learn, and then we're going to buy some vitamins, only 2 calcium, because that's all I can afford at the moment. And then I'm going to head to the game corner, which I really should have came here first because there's more high money items we can pick up to sell to possibly get more vitamins. There are a few vitamins we can pick up in the Rocket game corner though, along with a PP up and Double Edge if we wanted it, but I don't think Double Edge is going to be necessary. And speaking of the Rocket game corner, you'll see we have the Giovanni battle, and Outrage just one-shots all of his Pokemon. And although I don't make another trip to the department store after picking up the high money items, that will save us time, but it leads to another mistake which I'll get to. Anyway, let's wrap up business in Celadon and take on Erica. I don't think I'm going to one-shot all of her Pokemon with one Outrage like I did with Surge. Outrage does over half to Victory Bell, it misses Sleep Powder, the second hit knocks it out, Outrage one-shots Tangela, probably thanks to the crit, and against Vileplume, does over half. Vileplume uses Mega Drain as we become confused and hit ourselves. I go for Body Slam, doesn't knock it out, another Mega Drain, we hit ourselves once again. I'm getting a little worried at this point, but we hit Crunch and knock it out. And there's actually one last bit of business to take care of in Celadon. We have to get Fly from the girl in the house here, and now we can head to the Pokemon Tower. And at the time of recording this, I was actually watching Thursday Night Football, so I have to mute all the background noise. It was my hometown Detroit Lions against the Packers, which they won. Anyway, Rival 4 battle, Pidgeotto's the lead. It does hit me with a quick attack to open the battle. Crunch one-shots it. Next we have Execute, and Crunch will one-shot it as well. Following Execute is Gyarados. I go for Crunch, doesn't one-shot it, it goes for Thrash, doesn't do a lot, another Crunch knocks it out. And to keep the theme going against Kadabra, Crunch, one-shot. And against Charmeleon I switch things up and go for Outrage for the one-shot. The last rival battle before the difficulty really ramps up. And remember earlier when I said I made a few mistakes in the mid-game? Well, another one is coming up. You see, after Pokemon Tower, we have some choices. We can head to Silph Co, battle Rival Fivel and Giovanni, and then take on Sabrina, and also pick up some useful items within Silph Co. Or we can go to Fuchsia City, battle Koga, and go through the Safari Zone, and possibly go to Blaine afterwards. And my thought process at the time was, Koga's gym has Jugglers, which were a Dark type and will be able to mow down those Psychic types, probably get enough levels, and be able to take down Koga with ease. And while the first part of that statement is correct, we were able to mow down the Jugglers, got some great experience. As far as beating Koga, yeah, that was a true challenge. Considering his ace is level 43, we're pretty under-leveled. Against Coughing number 1, I go for Crunch, does over half, we knock it out with a second Crunch. Muck is a lot more bulky, Crunch doesn't do much as it misses Screech. I go for Outrage, does a tiny bit more damage, we knock it out over 2 Outrage hits. Coughing number 2 goes down to 1 Outrage hit. Last is Wheezing, we get through the confusion to hit Outrage, it does over half, but it just goes for Explosion, knocking us out in 1 hit. And I tried this fight time and time again. I even tried Rare Candies once, but still got the same results. I could make it to Wheezing, but it would just go for Explosion and one-shot me. And I really don't want to use my Rare Candies and get a lucky win at this point. So we're gonna have to eat a bit of a time loss. For now, I'm going to go through the Safari Zone and get Surf and Strength, which I had to do a bit of item management in the Safari Zone because I didn't have enough inventory slots, so another mistake on my part. But after going through the Safari Zone, we're going to head to Silph Co, which is the move I should have done originally. And before heading to Rival Fivel, we're going to take a trip to the 10th floor. We all know what's there. There's the one rocket who's guarding 3 valuable items. We can get the Carbos, we can pick up the rare candy, but most importantly, once I make room in my inventory, I'll just use the Carbos we just picked up, but TM26 Earthquake, which would have came in handy for Koga, although I don't think we would have been able to beat him at our current level. One trainer we're going to try to beat at our current level right now though, is Rival Fivel. And there's another mistake I made that I'll mention at the end of this battle. We do have Earthquake in place of Dragon Rage now. It's 2 crunches to take out Pidgeot as it hits me with 2 tackles. Execute, we're able to take out in 1 crunch, but now is Gyarados. I go for crunch, it does about a third, Dragon Rage, another crunch, and another Dragon Rage. I have 11 HP for the remaining 2 Pokemon as we knock out Gyarados. Thankfully, Crunch one-shots Alakazam, but Charizard outspeeds, goes for Dragon Rage, and knocks me out. And the mistake I made was not teaching Rock Slide. Rock Slide probably would have one-shot Pidgeot, it probably would have one-shot Gyarados, and it definitely would have one-shot Charizard being 4 times weak to it. Well, we definitely learned from our mistake in the first battle. While I do miss my first Rock Slide, my second brings Pidgeot to a Sliver. While it doesn't do much damage to me, we do knock it out. Execute is still a one-shot with Crunch, and now the question, can we knock out Gyarados in one shot? Yes, we can. Alakazam gets a bit lucky, disabling Crunch, but it wears off pretty quickly, we knock it out in 1 hit, and now we just need to hit Charizard. Dragon Rage because it outspeeds, we miss Rock Slide, another Dragon Rage, another will knock us out, but thankfully we hit our second Rock Slide. It does one-shot the 4 times weak Charizard. That's Rival Fivel down, and we can move on to Giovanni. And I did take some damage from the rocket before him, but hopefully that shouldn't be too big of a problem. Foreshadowing. Well, his lead Nidorino is never a problem. We can knock it out in 1 Earthquake, but we have to knock out the rest of his Pokemon in 1 hit. We level up going into Kangaskhan. I go for Earthquake, and we get a critical hit. It goes for Dizzy Punch, leaving me with 13 HP. We knock it out with another Earthquake. Rhyhorn, it's gonna go down to 1 Earthquake, but now we need to one-shot Nidoqueen. Earthquake fails to, and Double Kick takes me out. So let's try that again, fully healed. We already know that Nidorino will be a one-shot with Earthquake, we can just get it out of here. The crit from the last battle definitely mattered on Kangaskhan, but it locks itself into Rage early. It's 3 attacks to take it down. Rhyhorn goes down to 1 Earthquake. We don't get a more favorable range on Nidoqueen, and this time Double Kick crits to take us out. But it happens not once, but twice. For the next battle, let's just fast forward to Rhyhorn getting KO'd, because we already know how these first 3 Pokemon go. We have plenty of HP for Nidoqueen, Earthquake doesn't one-shot per usual, but Double Kick doesn't crit, and we have plenty of HP left over to get the win. And the time loss from going from Fuchsia to Silph wasn't that much either, and we can wrap up business in Saffron by taking on Sabrina. But first, I'm gonna train up against the trainers in her gym, because being part Dark-type, we're gonna resist a lot of their attacks, and it's good experience. Since we're getting into the later portion of the game, and being in the slow level up group, it's gonna take a lot more experience for us to level up, and we need to get all the easy experience we can get now. The last thing you want to happen is going into the Elite Four under-leveled, or even Rival 6, and then having to backtrack and level up some. At the end of all our training, we're still under 2 hours in-game time before fighting Sabrina. We're at level 40 now. She leads with Kadabra, it's a one-shot with Crunch. Mr. Mime does tank a Crunch, it just goes for Reflect, we knock it out. Venomoth, we outspeed, Rock Slide one-shots, and Alakazam goes for a turn 1 recover and goes down to 1 Crunch. The battle against her honestly went as expected. Her Pokemon not being able to do anything, And really the only one having to worry about was Sanqui Venomoth, just because it does have Sleep Powder and Signal Beam, which is super effective against Hydreigon. But let's go ahead and backtrack to Fuchsia and finally take down Koga. With our increase in level, and now having Earthquake on our moveset, he's no challenge at all. As you see, Earthquake one-shot his first two Pokemon, it one-shots the second Coughing, and while Weezing holds on from an Earthquake, it just goes for Toxic. We're able to finish it the next turn. Had it gone for Self-Destruct or Explosion, I think we could have tanked it, but either way, we've got the Soul Badge in hand. We're gonna go ahead and fly back to Pallet Town and head to Cinnabar Island. And Blaine's gym is actually going to be an excellent training spot. With both Rock Slide and Earthquake on our moveset, we'll be able to take down trainers in his gym pretty easily. We still have Outrage as well, which will help us save on PP. Training in Blaine's gym, I was hoping to be at least level 44 by the end of all of it, but being in the slow level up group, we had other plans. After battling all of the trainers in Blaine's gym, we're only at level 43 by the time we take on Blaine. Blaine isn't difficult at all. Earthquake is a one-shot sweep on his entire team. We do level up to 44 after KOing the Rapidash, but I was hoping for a bit more levels going into the late game and going into Giovanni's gym. And despite the little bit of a time loss we took earlier, having to backtrack from Fuchsia to Silph to go back to Fuchsia, we're still making great time. 2 hours 18 minutes? Phenomenal. As for Giovanni, the battle is similar to Blaine's, where Earthquake is a one-shot sweep on all of his Pokemon, with the exception being the Rhydon. Rhydon does tank an Earthquake, and it hits me with Rock Blast, which thankfully only hits 3 times. Had it crit and hit more, maybe it could have did some big damage, but that's all 8 gym badges down. All that's left is Rival 6 and the League. I don't see Rival 6 being a problem, but as far as the League, we'll get to that in just a moment. For now, let's just get to the Rival 6 battle. And this battle went pretty much how I expected. I'm not going to narrate this one, I'm just going to have it play in the background here. But we managed to one-shot all of his Pokemon with the exception of Gyarados, who withstands a Rock Slide, hits me with a Dragon Rage when it could have used literally anything else to probably do more damage. But Hydreigon has the perfect moveset to counter the Rivals team. But next we have the League, and Lorelei I can see being a huge problem. In these Sanqui ROMs, her Pokemon have better movesets in some way. Cloyster definitely does. Dugong with both Signal Beam and Aurora Beam, those are 2 attacks that can do super effective damage to us. Bruno could be a problem. Machamp critting Submission probably could one-shot us. Agatha, she won't be a problem. We're a Dark type, she has Ghosts, we have Crunch and Earthquake, there's not much more to be said there. And then there's Lance. Maybe Aerodactyl and Gyarados could give us some problems, but aside from those 2, I don't see the Dragonairs or Dragonite being a problem, unless the Dragonairs somehow paralyze us. Victory Road is also going to be the last area we get a little bit of training in, along with picking up that optional rare candy. When we get to the League, we're at level 51. Outside of Lorelei's chamber, 2 hours 36 minutes, we're not going to beat Slacking or Crocodile's time, but maybe we can finish at the same time as, say, Feraligatr or Regice. We have a tough battle against Lorelei though. She leads with Dugong and the battle starts in the worst way. I miss Rock Slide as Signal Beam crits, bringing me to 35 HP. Rock Slide doesn't one-shot Dugong, but she goes for a Super Potion. We knock it out on the next turn. Cloyster comes out, I go for Crunch because it has weaker special, it just goes for Aurora Beam and finishes me off. I decided to use 9 rare candies before the second battle, and it goes a lot better than the first. Rock Slide hits Dugong and we have the one-shot range now. Against Cloyster, I go for Crunch because it has worse special, it nearly one-shots it, Aurora Beam does about a quarter of my health, we finish it on the next turn. Slowbro, I go for Crunch, we one-shot it. Jinx I can pick between Crunch and Rock Slide. I choose Rock Slide because it has worse defense. It's also a one-shot. Last is Lapras. We miss as it hits Blizzard, bringing me to 10 HP. My second Rock Slide hits, nearly one-shotting it. but it just hits another blizzard to finish us. I decided to use 2 more rare candies before trying again, and the battle is essentially the same. We still don't have the one-shot on Cloyster, but she goes for a retroactive super potion. We can just fast forward ahead to Lapras. I go for Rock Slide. It's not quite a one-hit KO. It goes for Blizzard, doing well over half, but we can just go for Crunch to finish it off. Lorelei defeated. We probably could have beat her on that second try if we didn't get unlucky. Probably didn't need to use the extra rare candies because they really didn't make a difference. Next up we have Bruno, and I said that he would be a challenge because Machamp could probably one-shot us. And I'm not even going to narrate this battle for you. All of his Pokemon are a one-shot except for the Machamp. And Machamp is the only Pokemon that does damage to us. Earthquake can't knock it out, Low Kick does well over half. Had it gone for Submission, probably would have knocked me out, but that's Bruno down. And next we have Agatha, which we're a Dark type, and we have Earthquake. I don't see this one being a problem, which, again, I'm not going to narrate this battle because it isn't. Earthquake is a one-shot on all Pokemon except for Golbat, which I just used Rock Slide for, so we can go ahead and move on to Lance. Which, something I'll mention now, I actually played Crocodile and Hydreigon back-to-back. And you'll remember in Crocodile's run, I had a strategy where I wanted to use Outrage to knock out the final 4 Pokemon. Well, I want to try that with Hydreigon as well. But we actually get Stab from using Outrage, and since Hydreigon's special stat is a lot higher than Crocodile's, it's going to be hitting a lot harder. With all that out of the way, let's get into the battle. So Lance is going to lead with Gyarados. I'm going to go for Rock Slide, hoping for the one hit, and I get it. 1 down. We level up going into Dragonair. I go for Outrage. It's going to one-hit KO the first one, so it's also going to be a one-hit KO on the second. Now, how much will it do to Aerodactyl? We do outspeed, and we one-shot it. Outrage ends for Dragonite, but we get through the confusion and one-hit KO it. Aside from Lorelei, it's been a pretty uneventful Elite Four. Hydreigon's just been able to mow down through them. All that's left is the champion, and there's nothing on the champion's team that worries me. I'm pretty sure I said this earlier in the video, but we have the perfect moveset to counter his entire team. I'd say the biggest X factor is Rock Slide not being 100% accurate, but that's enough rambling from me. Let's get on into this champion battle. He leads with Pidgeot. I go for Rock Slide, we hit, and it's a one-hit KO. Perfect. Alakazam can't do anything to us. I miss Crunch as Psychic doesn't affect us. Our second Crunch hits, critting and knocking it out. We level up going into Rhydon. I go for Crunch again. It's not quite enough to one-hit it. It goes for Stomp. We just knock it out the next turn with another Crunch. Out comes Exeggutor. Crunch should one-shot and does. Always nice to see that. Out comes Gyarados. I go for Rock Slide. It hits. It one-shots. Don't think the crit mattered. Last is Charizard. It's 4 times weak to Rock Slide. It goes down in one hit, and with that, we have done it. And this was a really fun run. Even with the little mistake I made by going to Fuchsia City too early, Hydreigon recovered well. It kind of reminded me of the Dugong run I did about a year ago, because I made a similar mistake in that one, and Dugong recovered well and finished with a pretty good time, a lot better than I thought it would. But let's go ahead and get Hydreigon's final time. It finishes at level 65 with a final in-game time of 2 hours and 47 minutes. I'm not going to post the tier list this week, there's some tweaks I want to make to it, but Hydreigon does have an S tier finish for anyone wondering. As always, thank you for the continued support on the channel. I've actually started a 4th Halloween themed run for you, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it out by the end of the month. If not, it'll be the first video in November, and I've got a treat for you guys next month. I finally managed to code one of my own ROMs, and we're going to be seeing how a certain Gen 9 Pokemon does in Gen 1. This also means that Regieleki and Regidrago will be coming to the channel eventually. Not sure when though, there are a lot of other runs that I want to do first. I'm going to get back to work though. I'll see y'all in my next one. Take care.